Welcome to the Zachrilege cast, episode number 23, recorded on July 9th, 2015, and perhaps my last daytime recording for a while, as I will be employed starting next week. Do not adjust your earbuds. You are watching and or listening to the Zachrilege cast, the hoppy podcast with the multi-backbone of YouTube goodness. This show brings on anyone who I deem awesome enough to talk about atheism, secularism, and this week, the Church of Beerism. Thanks to Tucker and, more importantly, Professor Fuzznuts for being on last week. So we're going to do a quick intro about horror, about what for you is a very horrific situation. Like if you imagine being locked in a coffin or something like that, like whatever the most horrific thing you can think of. But what makes me kind of this scared is to imagine being inside the mind of a religious person. I was listening to last week's, or it might have been 2 weeks ago, Dogma Debate, and they had on a religious Christian rapper. And just to see the gymnastics his brain goes through to make everything make sense just scared the crap out of me. And not just that he thinks that way, the other people will hear him and go, that sounds totally legitimate. That to me is a bit of a horror. So this fine afternoon, I bring on Joe Kindic of the Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast. He is represented by a sloth. This is not actual size. Joe and Chris are platonic soulmates who decided that Tennessee needed a dog in the atheist podcast hunt. We've had a beer together, and the man wears a kilt with moxie, if that's a thing.
That is a thing, I think.
Also, I hear he's been recently married and ordained, so there are stories to tell. Heidi ho, motherfucker. I mean, Joe.
Heidi ho! I'm not going to go, motherfucker. It's rude.
Well, most of the time, I let my guest be the first one to curse, but I figured this week, I needed to get it going.
I don't curse that much. No, it's I like to cuss. It's just easier. It's lazy, but it's easier.
I think that's how we all like it. So, tell us about yourself. Are you actually from Tennessee, and have you been there your whole life?
No, I'm an Air Force brat. I'm not really from anywhere. I was born in Kokomo, Indiana, moved to Biloxi, Mississippi when I was like 8 months. I was there for 4 or 5 years, then Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho, in the Philippines for 4 years. I've been here since 88, so I guess technically I've been here long enough.
Wow. So just out of random curiosity, how old are you?
I will be 38 the 27th in 18 days.
I was just wondering about similar ages because I'm 41 and I lived in Nashville between, 1980 and 1990-ish. So, yeah.
So you were there for like 2 years while I was there?
Because went to 1 year of high school at Montgomery Bell Academy.
You rich douchebag.
Recommended in the Robin Williams movie. Now that I can't remember that name of the movie, but anyway, based on that.
Yeah, it's $35,000 a year for that school.
Probably now. I think it was a little more reasonable back then. It's funny that my parents pulled me out of public schools when I lived there, and then when we moved to Kansas City, Missouri, they're like, public schools are totally cool. So that's the way it goes.
A racist decision. Guarantee it.
Totally. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength there. So is your family, do you have like a religious background?
Not really. My mother's side of the family is Catholic. If I'd have grown up here, probably. But being on military bases, traveling all the time, they pretty much only had non-denominational churches. So my mom being Catholic, my dad being, I think they were Nazarene. Dad was a flight nurse, so he did a lot of on-call work on Sunday. So mom would be like, "Hey, go to church," and never really stuck with me. Kind of went back to finding out that Santa wasn't real, and kind of went all downhill from there. Just started questioning everything. It's like, well, this is bullshit, and this is bullshit. And then I heard the story of Job, and I was like, "Fuck, really? This is the guy that you worship? All right, motherfucker." I was like 8 or 9. I was just like done.
I like that.
Fuck you guys.
You were cursing at a young age. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
I probably was cursing at a really young age. I know at least in 2nd or 3rd grade I was.
Well, maybe it's just because of my extensive military movie watching, but those guys seem to curse a lot, so I could see how that might,
Oh,
catch on to
I
the
never heard
kids.
my father cuss until I moved here.
Hmm.
Until I was probably, and I think I made him, to be honest. I think I made him curse. Now, I never heard him curse. A lot of stuff changed when I moved to Tennessee. Never saw him drink sweet tea until we got here. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, who drinks sweet tea who's not in the South? Come on.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
Sorry, Ashley.
I don't see how people drink that shit. It's like fucking syrup.
And the only time I've heard the Nazarene Church mentioned before was Susie of Bill and Susie of the Barham.
Oh, really?
Atheist, because when she grew up, she actually thought that was the only church there was because that's what she was raised as. And there's a little dinky church of the 700,000 in Atlanta that actually is Nazarene. I'm like, oh, she should come visit, but that would probably bring up trigger warnings.
Probably so. The Nazarene church that my grandmother went to and my dad went to, it's been around forever. And I was at a Vanderbilt football game, and I drank, I think, like almost a whole 750 of Jameson. And their preacher, he's a super, super nice guy. I just lit into him, like drunk. Hey, I'm James. You're a fucking liar. Your religion's bullshit. Let's like don't know the guy for like 10 minutes. And he is the nicest dude in the world. I felt really bad later about it.
Well, I expect that it does require a good amount of drinking to attend a Vanderbilt football game.
Yeah. Well, we've been season ticket holders for about 20-something years now. We finally didn't renew. It's a good deal, man. Second row, 40-yard line. We're paying like $2,000 for 6 seats. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's a little cheaper. I'm a Missouri grad, so I'm actually in a new phase of, wait a second, my school's actually good. I mean,
yeah, leave the Big 12 and do something. What the fuck?
Vandy's had a decent run for themselves in the past few years, and I'll maybe up for the game this year. I went up to the one 2 years ago.
Well, let me know, man. We'll hook it up.
I have family in Nashville. We'll definitely be talking about the great Nashville gathering next time I'm in town.
That's what we should do. We'll get Tucker, we'll get Chris, and we'll hit. We'll watch. Well, they won't watch the game. You and I can pregame. We'll watch the game. Then we'll go drink some local craft beer places.
Because I met Chris at like a Greek restaurant in a shopping area because he had to go to work. Just in the afternoon, it was like, oh, okay.
Was it next to a Wendy's on West End?
Was it was like Nolensville Road. It was close to where my parents live. And
Nolensville.
When I come to Nashville, I know, well, it used to be when I come to Nashville, I would just go to my parents' house and I would go to the Titans game and that would be it. But then I started to get to know people in town and they would tell me about good restaurants and good barbecue and hanging out in the Vandy kind of area, all the bars and stuff. And so now I actually do get around town, but I can't describe different parts of town to save my life. In fact, I'm in Atlanta and I've been in Atlanta for 16 years. People are like, what part of town are you in? I'm like, eastish side. So I'm bad with directions. So yeah,
not in Midtown.
No, not. It's close to there when I was a Buckhead, but now it's kind of Decatur, Tucker. Anyway, yeah.
Have you been to Pride in Atlanta?
I haven't.
Oh, it's fucking awesome, dude. You've got to go.
I was confused, though, because when the Supreme Court announcement came out, it seemed that every other city in America was having some kind of Pride thing, and I don't think it was happening here for some reason. There probably was a celebration, but it wasn't like the official Pride, I think, is like in October, but I don't know. A lot of stuff happens in October, so just wait.
Pride's awesome. I recommend going. It's insane. In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who wasn't out here. She's like, hey, will you take me to Pride? I'm like, sure, fuck it. So we drove down there, and it's a little overwhelming if you're not used to that because Nashville's Pride is terribly small. It's better, but it's not like Atlanta by any means. And it's just awesome seeing like so many different kinds of people just having a great time. It's really neat.
Sounds like a plan.
It is. You should do it.
I should do it. Do it.
Do it.
So how did this groovy kind of love begin between you and Chris? And how did you decide, let's do a podcast? Because you've been doing a podcast. Well, you're about 6 episodes ahead of me. So what's it like in the late 20s and how did it get started?
It basically got started. Chris and I were both members of like the National Atheist Facebook page, I think. And he was like, "Hey, it's my 40th birthday. I'm going to go out. Anybody want to go?" And I'm like, "Fuck it, I'll go. I don't know this cat from Adam, you know." And go out there. We start drinking. I'm like, "Hey, you and I should do a podcast." And it turns out we went to high school together for like a year and a half, which is really funny. But so we should do a podcast. He's like, "All right." And then that was nothing. And then like 2 months later, he's like, "Hey, let's seriously do this." And I'm like, "Okay, fuck it, let's do it." So I bought a mic, you know, got Audacity and Skype and all that stuff, and here we are. And you know, I have a love-hate relationship with Chris. I'd love to beat him to death, but you know, that would be nice.
Love to beat him to death.
No, it's funny because like everyone's like, "You guys sound like you're really good friends." I'm like, I don't know this dude at all. Like I barely talk to him. It's funny. We just live on opposite sides of the planet.
Well, you're on other sides of Nashville, right? Like
Yeah, I'm north of Nashville. He's west of Nashville. We're probably an hour and 15 minutes from each other.
And what about Tucker? Is he in your range?
Tucker's closer to me. He's about 25, 30 minutes from me, but he's west. He's probably 15 minutes from where I work, so it's not bad.
Because that's something that happened when we went to ReasonCon. Is I actually met I can't say quite a few, but like 3 or 4 people who were in Atlanta, and I was like, I may have heard your name before, but I've never seen you before. You know,
was it like Johnny and Katie Brotherton?
Man, Brothertons. I don't think I even met them, and I've been in touch with like on Facebook. But yeah, it was kind of wild that we did ReasonCon, and about 2 weeks later, Bobby and Ashley came up, and we had dinner with Hugh and Hugh's husband, and that was a fun time because we just drank and ate a lot. Yeah, nice grilling time. He was part of the Big Green Egg Brotherhood with me. And once you get into that grill thing, you just
I've seen those. I've never used one.
You look down at other people who don't have. But actually, you don't. You just get obsessed with it. It's kind of like
an Apple product.
We're going to start. You know, we'll be talking about a little bit later. It's like once you get into the craft beer side and just discover how deep it goes, and you can just be in your own city, and there are so many breweries and different styles, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, very nice.
I like it. I mean, Nashville now, I think we have 5 or 6 decently big breweries now, and they're all within like I think a 4 square mile area. There's a Zons, which is what I fucking love. I mean, the Yazoo, which I think you've had some of theirs at ReasonCon. I know I gave you some.
I had what was the one that was Dos Perros, I think.
Oh, that's my jam. I love that shit, dude.
So it's kind of like a Negro Modelo.
Yeah, it is. It's a German style. You know, a lot of Germans immigrated to Mexico in the late 1800s, so that's where that style of beer came from. Shinerbach's a little bit like that. It's pretty cool. I love that. That's a really good beer. They like to add lime to it, and that pisses me off. Same thing when they put lime in my Negro Modelo. I like, get the fruit out of my fucking beer.
Single time I go to a Mexican restaurant, it's just assumed that they put the lime there. And I'm just like, no. Although one thing I do like about Mexican restaurants is the last time I went to one, they had draft beer, and you could order like 32 ounces. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting 32 ounces of beer in one. Like most places you go to, you can get a pint. But that place, you can actually order like would be a pitcher of beer for one.
Dos Equis Amber. Get the 32 ounce of that. Just go to town.
Don't even mess with. Because I feel like there are some beers, I actually like the Abita Strawberry, but if you're actually putting fruit into a beer, there's probably something not quite right with the actual beer. That's my theory with it.
It's kind of my thought. I mean, if you have to add something, it's like tea. If you have to add sugar to it, then you're just ruining it. Sorry. I really have an aversion to sweet tea.
Is it true that in Tennessee there's like a limit to the alcohol content in the beers they brew, or is that?
To be considered a beer, it's 6%. Now you can still a bar can sell anything higher than that, but it's not sold as a beer. It's sold as I want to say either a wine or a hard spirit. Like at a beer store. A liquor store can sell 6% nut beer, but it can't sell 6% lower beer. Actually, I think that changed recently. But yeah, it was really weird rules. Like you could own a liquor store and have a beer store attached to it, but they had to have separate doors at one time. I think now that's all changed. But a beer is anything over 6% is not considered a beer in Tennessee. So you can't sell it at a restaurant that sells beer only if it's over 6%.
Every state has its own weird beer laws. I mean, I'm from Pennsylvania, and they still have those state stores. And it used to be you had to go to the door and tell the person what you wanted, and they got it for you. And now you can actually walk around, but it's still state stores with limited hours. And
like package store, ABC store kind of
kind
thing?
of like that, yeah, and they're separate. I think actually last time I was in Pittsburgh, they actually had beer in a grocery store, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. These people are, joining the 20th century.
Hey, we're still trying to get wine in Kroger's and shit here. We can't even get wine in
Right. Because my parents would want me to get like $2 chuck for them because they had Trader Joe's, but they couldn't sell the wine in the grocery store, which I was like, huh? I think they limit it to beer and wine here. But there was a rule when I first moved here was high gravity stuff wasn't allowed, and I don't know what the cutoff was, but that got passed. And now they can sell beer on Sunday, but it was up to each individual county because the state legislators couldn't pass a law saying that you can buy beer on Sunday because that's just wrong.
Oh, that sucked when I was tailgating for a Bears-Falcons game, dude. We're trying to find beer, and no one told us you need to buy it the day before. So we had to spend $200 at fucking Hooters that day to get trashed.
Of course.
I sound like a giant alcoholic right now. There was 5 of us. But, yeah, that sucked. And then we're trying to, after the game, we're like trying to find beer, and they're like, dude, sorry. It's like, oh, sucks.
Well, now it's noon. I remember I left Nashville once, and it was Sunday at 10. I think I actually was allowed to buy beer in a grocery store. But here it's noon, and I do remember in Nashville, like at the Titans game, people were actually like buying a beer right at kickoff because it was noon when the game kicked off, and it was noon when you could buy a beer.
They changed that now. I think they kicked it down to 10:30 because of the Titans games.
They're probably losing some money right there.
Well, it was a religious reason. It was the fucking Baptists did that shit back in the day, And then, but money's way more powerful than God. So you got to get that tax revenue, man. Sell that beer.
Yeah, they just changed the laws in Georgia where you could do a brewery tour, but you would like buy the glass and then give you like 30 ounces of beer in samples. Now they've upped that, and you can buy up to a 6-pack of beer from the brewery, which is good in a way, but it seems like the prices are actually the same, if not more than in a liquor store. But there are a ton of breweries. Just every week I see a new one in town, and I kind of want to do a little tour and go to different ones and try that out because there are some really, really good stuff. And sometimes you go to a brewery, you get a beer you really like, and then you go, oh, it's not in the stores. I can't get it. And at least now they're selling growlers and selling beer, so you can at least take some of that home because...
Yeah, I've got 2 growlers sitting on. They're empty right now, but they're sitting on top of the fridge from Zons. That's my jam. Well,
I stopped doing growlers just because I would buy the 64-ounce one, and I'd leave like NFL Sunday, and I have to drink this whole thing because it's gonna.
Yeah, it goes bad.
Be good, and that for certain high gravity beers, that's a lot. Well, actually, that's a lot in general, but if you're at your house for 7-8 hours, you don't feel bad, but it's a decent amount. And then if you get the smaller one, you're like, come on, what's that, 2 beers? Seriously?
Yeah. A half-gallon beer is a good time for anyone.
And it doesn't seem like a growler is ever like a good deal. It's only if it's a beer that you can't get or you think you like better on draft than in bottles. It's like a good 6-pack, I usually spend like $10.
Right.
But a growler is 64 ounces, which is 8 ounces less than it, and it's actually like usually $20 or $15.
Oh wow! So as long as you refill the growler,
it's a local one. I think is maybe $10. Like there's a what is it? It's called Drafty Kilts. It's a Scottish ale from Monday Night Brewery. I'm talking like I've been drinking.
Brewery.
Yeah. I saw because now I'm starting to follow more beer accounts on Twitter. There was one like American Beer Awards, and it just showed all these different styles and who won. And actually, a bunch from local ones actually won. And it's like, all these beers, I must try them all, but not at once. So let's do the first live reads. Since I like to do live reads in the middle of the show instead of have people throw in their pre-recorded whatever. This is all me. So if you want to get to know one of my future show guests, check out Jeremiah Kamara's YouTube page, and that's like camera, but it's Kamara. Including his slave sermon series. He has a movie called Contradiction about the church and the African American community, and he's one hell of a speaker, and I'm hoping to get him on next week. So there you go. So Joe, what's it like in Tennessee? Like, is there a good atheist are there groups there?
Yeah, there are. When I lived in Knoxville for a while, they have the Atheist Society of Knoxville, the Rationalists of East Tennessee. There's also Nashville. There's the National Atheist Meetup. And Tracy Moody's out here, so that's kind of cool. She got Bill Nye to come to Vanderbilt and do a talk. I don't know if she did it all by herself, but she was instrumental in that. And we had Neil Carter here a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty cool. That dude was awesome. I have a slight man crush on him now.
Yeah, I think I heard Tucker talking about that.
If you're in a major city, Nashville, Knoxville's still fucking terrible. And Memphis is, I don't know of any out there, but I'm sure there are. You have a way better shot of finding like-minded people as opposed to where I live. Where I live, I know for sure of 2 atheists, myself included. A dude I went to high school with. And maybe, I know a couple of children that are either atheists or deists at best. I say children like high school kids. And the rest of everybody here is, Bible beating kind of person. Not all are dicks about it, but yeah, almost everyone here is, where do you go to church? They don't ask me that anymore. They all know, but if you're new here,
that's where I go. Question. My church is in a brewery. Although I do notice the proliferation of kind of religious-y type names in beer companies. Like, isn't there like the Black Abbey, which is supposedly one of the better ones in Nashville?
Maybe. I could lie and say sure, but no, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I could Google it real quick for you. Maybe. That would make sense.
About it, but...
Well, the Trappist ales, the monks used to make beer back in the day.
Yes. Yum.
So, that's a good idea. You could steal that. And maybe that's what they're referencing. I doubt we have an actual abbey anywhere in Tennessee.
It could be. Yeah, this is a good, because you're actually a sports fan, it reminds me, since I'm a Missouri grad and now I can actually see my team play locally and I'm not embarrassed by it, I've gone to both of their games at the University of Tennessee. And one of the things that Tennessee does is their band does the whole marching band that does the actual tee. Well, both times Missouri's played, their players have gone to the end zone where the band is going to go, and they start getting on their knees and doing their praying thing, and the crowd started booing them, and I thought that was just hilarious that they're booing guys who are praying. Obviously, they were mad at them because they were in the middle of the tee ritual. And also, both times I was there was an invocation at the game, and I'm like, that is clearly not legal. I was probably the only person in the stadium who thought that. But like, isn't this a public school? And I know it's kind of a generic prayer, but it's a prayer and it's pretty clear.
Yeah, but that's what 108,000 people ready to kick your ass if you say something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I know we went there for a Vanderbilt UT game, and it was down to the wire, and people were throwing peanuts at my brother and I because Vanderbilt was tied. It was like a tie ball game. And we're just like, dude, you're throwing peanuts at us. You're outnumbered. We probably would have beat the shit out of at least 20 of them. But still, it's the principle of the thing. It's like, you're tacky redneck motherfuckers. That's exactly what, it's kind of like Alabama. You have the 15% and the 85%. I think at UT, it's more like the 90%, 10%. 90% dumbass rednecks who probably couldn't spell university, but work their asses off to pay for the games. I don't know. I'm generalizing, but.
Well, I went to the game against the Missouri game, and we were in the end zone, and actually the people in front of me told me to keep it down, and I'm like, there are 90,000 of you. I'm one person. You're telling me to be quiet?
Oh, they don't understand math there.
Well, what's crazy is the first time we went there, both Tennessee and Missouri sucked that first year. And it was probably half full. And the second time we went, it wasn't a sellout, but it was still 90,000. I mean, that's the thing that's nuts is like I go to Tennessee Titans games and a sellout there is 67,000. University of Tennessee, it's what, 105?
Yeah, it was 108, and they kicked it back. That's a hell of a stadium. I mean, honestly, I'd never been there, and when I walked in, I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" It's just awe-inspiring. It really is. It's a beautiful stadium, and it's just the orange is ugly as shit. That's a terrible color.
Yeah.
I think that one of the jokes is why is UT orange that color so they can pick up trash on Friday, hunt on Saturday. Oh, God damn it. I ruined that joke. Whatever. But never have to change shirts. I watch football on Saturday, hunt on Sunday. I never have to change shirts. That's it. Well, that joke got ruined. Fuck it.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has a good color scheme. You got the black and gold because I'm from Pittsburgh where all the teams are black and gold just about. So, you like that. And Missouri was black and gold before Nike got in charge and decided that everything had to have gray in it.
Those bastards at Nike. I don't wear Nike, man. Never have.
Well, they used to have the throwback helmets from Missouri. It just said M. I'm like, there you go. Not the futuristic tiger-looking thing that I don't know what it is.
All right, I have an impartial question for you.
Impartial question. Okay.
How good did you actually think Michael Sam was?
He actually put up his numbers in like 3 games. I think he had 9 sacks.
Against really weak teams.
So it must have been a bad year because he was the player of the year. There's a certain threshold. Like I've been applying for jobs for 5 months, and during this time you have to jump over the hoops and make with the minimums. And I think he barely made it athletically in the NFL, and that was just one thing. Now, it's odd. It's like trying to think of if the first African-American player in the major leagues was just a guy who could barely play in the league, as opposed to like an all-star Hall of Fame type guy. So it was unfortunate for Michael Sam because he was just a borderline, talent. Although it was odd to see him be player of the year and get drafted in the 7th round, and then Shane Ray be a defensive end from Missouri, same thing, all SEC, defensive player of the year, and then he gets taken number 23 overall. Probably a little better athletically. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the numbers.
I'm glad he's back in Canada because it's one of those things that you notice in the media. Like everybody was talking about, he signed with Montreal and then he left and everybody made such a big deal. And then he comes back and nobody says a peep about it because it doesn't stick with their narrative of not liking him. Thinking it's all about him. I was like, I don't know. I was impressed because it did seem like Missouri is like most football teams, very religious, but they found out he was gay and everybody supported him. And
yeah, I thought that was
I had
pretty
a lot
awesome.
of respect for the team because of that, and it was that togetherness because Missouri never has the top talent. They always get the lower guys who work their way up, so they're not going to be like entitled. The one entitled guy they had got kicked out, Dorial Green Beckham. So there you go.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to be said for those high guys not making it. But
you got Matty Mock though. That kid's fucking awesome. Only because of the story where the cops chasing him on a scooter with the two co-eds behind him.
He was a freshman. Yeah, Matty Mock.
That dude's fucking awesome already.
He's the quarterback for the Missouri Tigers, and he really does. That whole honey badger didn't give a shit. He does not. He has no memory. If he threw the worst interception in the history of mankind, he's going to throw the crap out of it. You saw that Alabama game. He just threw like 7 Hail Mary passes and somehow connected on 5 of them. But yes, his freshman year when he was, I think, a red shirt, so he didn't actually play, he got arrested for a hit and run on a scooter with 2 co-eds on the scooter with him. So there you go, the legend of Matty Mock.
I mean, if there's worse things to be known for.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to think, Missouri like actually has good quarterbacks, but hey, it's been fun.
Well, the second you get SEC attached to your name, talent will start coming to you.
Well, people don't still think of Missouri as SEC. Like I have family from Baton Rouge, and they come up when LSU was in the championship game because it's always in Atlanta. And I wore like a Missouri shirt the year they got in, and everybody's like, "Oh, patting you on the head. Oh, look at you in the conference." And then like 2 years later, they're playing for the championship game, and it's like, what is going on? I'm confused.
Oh, and all
I'm
the
as
Big 12.
confused as the rest of you.
Oh yeah, well, all my Big 12 buddies are like, see, they couldn't even fucking do anything in our conference. SEC sucks. I'm like, dude, it's a whole different ball game.
Well, they got better, clearly.
Obviously.
And the SEC East has had a not great couple of last years.
No.
They've
The
been
West
beating a
is-
lot of 6 and 7 win teams to get there. But
Vandy's expected to go 0-8 in the East. Oh, 0-8 against the SEC and 3-9 in general. So that's comforting.
very comforting.
Actually, I kind of made the decision last year that I just kind of quit giving a fuck. Like, there's the people whose entire week is based on how a team plays on Saturday, and I'm just like, or Sunday for that matter, if you're going pro. And I'm a Notre Dame fan by birth. I'm technically an Irish Catholic kid who was born I was born an hour south of South Bend. So I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and then we moved here, and I became a Vandy fan because I hated all the UT assholes. Of course, my father went to, got his bachelor's there. My mom got her master's there, so I can't say that much. But I've been a Bears fan my whole life. So football really sucks for me. But, I got to the point where I was getting fucking super bummed out, and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm letting people that have no bearing on my life whatsoever affect how I feel, and fuck it. So now I'm kind of glad my team wins. I mean, I say my team. I don't even pay for it anymore. So I don't know. I still love sport. I love competition, but I don't let it affect me like a lot of people do anymore. Or like it barely affected me, and I still thought it was too much.
Well, I once got into a yelling match with another guy at the Titans-Steelers playoff game. And this was even before I got married. My wife's like, who is this person? Like, you become this strange person during football. And I have noticed maybe it's because I was a Titans fan and they've been so pathetic the last 6 years that I just don't get into it the way I did before. And just seeing the trying to make everybody kind of cheer the same thing and think the same thing, it's not that would be a speech that would be interesting to give on skepticism in sports, because if a call goes against your team and everybody's booing, you can't stand up and go, well, actually, technically, it is correct according to the rules.
I still do that, dude. I'm that guy. I do that, which is probably why I don't care anymore. I say I don't care, but I care.
It allows the irrational, just plain emotional side of you get out occasionally, which is fine. But yeah, the living and dying by it, especially when you don't really get a tangible benefit out of the team winning.
Exactly.
You're not part of the team. You're not getting a cut of whatever they're getting.
Right. I'm paying to watch.
It's like woo, and then that's it. And to make the fans feel like they're partners, they're not really. Maybe the Packers are because they're publicly owned. But
I almost bought one of those. I almost bought one of those vouchers. And I'm, the Packers are the empire to the Bears, but how cool would that be? My cousin did. He's a hardcore Bears fan, but he bought one because that would just be cool. I should have bought one. It was like $300 or something. It wasn't much.
Just to own a piece.
Yeah, just to say, fire Brett Favre. No.
Well, what do you think of the way people reacted in the last week to Russell Wilson, the whole thing with him talking his girlfriend's last fiance?
Well, the fact that he's not fucking her is pretty goddamn impressive. Wow, she's banging. But I think he's a fucking nut job. So I mean, I never understood that God wants me to wait. I bet he didn't wait. I mean, if he waited the whole time, I mean, I'll give him props for that. But she's going to go elsewhere. I can tell you that right now. I mean,
well, I've heard of the kind of the woman saying re-virginizing, but I've never heard of that from the guy's side. And it always strikes me the wrong way. Maybe this is why I've not been as super sports fan, because of just this super religiosity that's part of it. And it's kind of odd to me because football players are kind of deified from a young age.
Oh, yeah.
So for them to go along, but I guess in a way, if you were going to be a really good football player, you have to listen to what the coaches say and follow their plan exactly and just instinctively do what you're supposed to do. And if they're also like, well, follow God here and you'll be fine and don't have to think about it, just follow. And they're like, it sounds good to me. It's good enough. I guess there's a certain mindset, but it was just, there's two sides of course, the religiosity and the fact that actually people are starting to kind of go for the religious players now. Like obviously Tebow, people were all over him, but it appears he doesn't quite have the pro skills. But Russell Wilson, obviously,
no, he's not Russell Wilson at all.
Russell Wilson's 2 Super Bowls and probably should have won 2 Super Bowls, and he's
I don't know
on top of the game.
I wonder if he prayed before that last play at the 1 yard line. That was the dumbest goddamn call in history. You've got fucking Marshawn Lynch on your fucking team.
Yeah.
God damn, who makes that call? Seriously.
That whole thinking like, oh, God made us, down by so much so we could come back and it could be glorious.
God made me throw 4 picks and so he could make it more.
It reminded me of that Christian rapper I was listening to. Like, he basically said when he was younger, he cheated on his wife and some guy came after him with a machete. And the reason why the guy didn't kill him was because of God. So David Smalley brought up so there were 9 people praying in a church and Bible study and they were killed and God didn't stop that. So what happened there? And this is,
no, that's just part of God's plan.
There's no answer because there is no answer. And if you think you have an answer, it doesn't mean your answer is right. But the whole, I don't know, the Tebow thing is odd because he's still a top 10 jersey seller because people are following him.
I wish he didn't think he was a quarterback because the dude's a fucking stud athlete, man.
I always want to say to people, if you're a Christian, he's a Christian. You're probably not the same kind of Christian. His dad,
he cut the dick. He circumcised children. That's fucked up. What's wrong with you, dude?
His dad is making the Philippines into some kind of theocracy. He's just been over there converting people.
I loved that place too
for a long time. You've actually been there too.
I lived there for 4 years. I'd go back right now. I would go back there and live. I barely remember any Tagalog, but I can still count to 20, so I'm good enough. But I love the Philippines. That place was amazing. It's fucked up. I got to see a lot of death. That was cool. Sarcasm.
That was cool.
Sarcasm. Got to see the when they put themselves when they carry the cross through town, the self-flagellation shit, and they get themselves crucified. That was fucked up. That was pretty fucked up. But
they did that, right? They did. Yeah. Did they actually put nails through their arms and stuff?
Some people did. It's fucked up.
Die, or do they just suffer?
No, it's not like that. But it's the suffering gets you closer to God, which technically it's I think it's in the New Testament about that. The suffering part. I know Mother Teresa was a big fan of that.
Yeah,
well, she's a big fan of letting people suffer for God.
Yes,
I'll clarify that.
And taking private planes and getting the best care for herself, but yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do.
It's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, that makes sense in religion.
So before we dig into, because we got to get into what you had happen on us Unbuckling about the show of lately, I want to get this second live readout. So this weekend only, or technically the next week, Exodus girls in Montgomery, Alabama are protesting Operation Save America, which is just as bad as it sounds. A bunch of Christian bullies trying to attack any abortion clinic they can. And I believe they're being supported by Roy Moore, the famous judge there, who doesn't seem to know what country he's in. So check out Zandy, that's Zandy with an X on Facebook, or Exodus Girls on Twitter. I recommend Twitter because she posted a deer threesome picture on there in response to a person saying animals weren't gay. Such fun.
Wait, hold on. Really?
Yeah, she posted somebody.
I'll find it. I got it. We're friends.
Somebody said that animals weren't gay, and she posted a picture of one deer having sex with looked like female deer, and there was another deer on top of the second deer having sex with it. It was no, actually, animals do have gay sex. I had a dog, a black lab, and he and the dog 2 doors over went to town on each other all the time.
But yeah, there's a ignoble, what was it? The ignoble prize for a guy that witnessed homosexual necrophilia in wood ducks or something. Just dog.
A prize?
It's the Ig Nobel Prize. Ig Nobel Prize. It's the prize. It's like the Nobel is the upper echelon. The Ig Nobel is this is the weirdest or most fucked up thing you could get, write a paper on kind of thing. But this dude was working at a zoo or something, and they had a big glass window, and the birds would fly into it and hurt themselves. And one hit the wall and died. And there was a male, and another male walked up and just started fucking it while it was dead.
Oh,
yeah. He wrote a paper on it.
Wrote a paper on it. Oh my gosh.
I think I listened to that on Star Talk. Check out Star Talk Radio. I think it's on there.
Awesome. So your show, I have to say, you guys are kind of annoying because you've been getting great guests of late. Daniel Wolfsong, Stephen Hewitt, and Dan Harrell. So who's wrangling these guests for you?
Chris does all the work. I don't do a damn thing on this show. Seriously, I do nothing. I show up and look pretty for radio. That's all I do.
How come I can't get in? Because there seems to be so many duos in podcasting. There's always like the one person who just shows up, and then the other person does.
He has way more free time. He doesn't have my job's way more important than his. And I'm married. He's got nothing going on.
So do you have like dream guests and people you want to get on the show?
I want Lucian Graves Greaves like a motherfucker on there. The Church Satanic Temple.
Oh yeah.
I want that dude on our show so bad. I actually posited that to Chris the other day. I'm like, we should get him on there. He's kind of big time, so I don't know if we could. Eli was cool as shit to have on there, to be honest. I kind of fanboyed. Dan Harrell, I fanboyed. I don't know. I mean, Ricky Gervais, if I could, blow the world to get that to happen, I would do it.
If I could blow the world. Yeah, that's in terms of, there's some like actors who are atheists and you don't really know about it.
Chris Cluey, I'd get
Gervais, you're there.
Chris Cluey, Eddie Izzard, Jim Jeffries.
I've heard him. Like, was he on Thinking Atheists? Chris Cluey? I know I've heard him on. Of course, maybe I just heard him like on NPR once, but
I know he was on a Google Plus hangout with David Viviano.
Right. Yeah.
I know he spoke at the.
Okay,
I want to say the American Atheist Convention last year before last. I just loved his book. His book was amazing, and I like his attitude. I like the way he writes. Slight man crush, also. Jim Jeffries or Ricky Gervais would be one of my two, or Eddie Izzard. I don't know. God damn it! Probably some atheist comedian that I love would be my dream interview.
Excellent.
One of those three, probably.
So circling back to the initial semi-rant I did on the religious mind, do you think you can get into the mind of someone who wants to do an atheist podcast without cursing?
Ideally, I'd like to be that guy. I'm sure there are people out there. I don't know. A lot of it, there's a lot of anger. I mean, especially for the deconverted. I'm trying not to be so angry now. I'm more angry at stupid now than I am at anything. I mean, I've always been angry at stupid. That's why I don't play well with others often.
Yeah, there's that line, I don't remember where I've heard it, like the lying or stupid. It's like, there's no way at this point you could deny evolution if you had your eyes open at all, or the whole, we came from monkeys, we're monkeys, or just kind of questions that come up. You're an atheist because you're angry at God, that kind of stuff that you hear over and over again, and you want there to be like something blasting constantly so people hear that and we can move on to things that aren't, have already been debunked.
A lot of it's cognitive dissonance, blah, 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 blah. I can't hear you because my God's talking. I don't know. I know a lot of, my wife's a Christian, but she's also a zoologist. So she knows evolution's a fact, but she thinks that, God had a part in it. I don't think she thinks Adam and Eve's a real story, but I do think she thinks Noah's Ark's a real story, but based in a small area, like the Mesopotamian Crescent or something like that. Like it was a small flood blown out of proportion kind of thing. I don't know. Some days I'm just like, ooh, just stop talking. Just stop talking. I won't ask that question ever again.
I think you reach a point.
Yeah.
Two parts of this. Like there's the dancing around with the relationship. My wife's a believer of, I don't think it's really of specifically Christianity, but just the whole higher power thing. And it's not sure how you can talk someone out of that or even really want to. It's like, well, if that's what you believe, it's what you believe.
As long as you're not a dick about it, I really don't care.
You're not a dick about it, yeah. And the whole concept of, all these stories, that's something that I think Tucker goes on his show a lot about, showing how in history these stories that became in the Bible that everybody thinks was invented for that are actually
Yeah.
precursors. There's the flood story. There's the born of the virgin story. There's the dead for 3 days and came back to life story. And it goes on and on again. And in the many thousands of prophets, the few that actually somehow became famous and the many who never became anything.
Right. That book that Tucker's reading, is it T.W. Doan or C.W. Doan? I don't know, Bible Myths and Parallels. I actually downloaded that to my Kindle. Oh. And, well, I'm sorry. I have a Nook. I'll take that back. But it was free. I'm not going to bitch. But it was still the original writing. God damn, that book's hard to read. And I didn't pay. It was free, though. That's why. But, it's written in 18th or 19th, early or late 19th century handwriting in English. It's a little difficult to read, but it's really fascinating. I mean, I know we kind of think the atheism, well, I guess new atheists as we're deemed or whatever, but there's been skeptical people forever, and this guy just picks apart shit, and you're like, he did all this research before Google, and I'm just like, dude, I wonder how hard that was.
Yeah, where you have to find a book, there might be one copy somewhere in the world, and you can abstract it down. Yeah, I was thinking of like high school age where you had to actually go to the library to like look up information and didn't have the internet.
Remember the World Book encyclopedias? You remember those?
It's like all you had.
And then all the rich kids had the Encyclopedia Britannica, but we had World Book at our school.
We had World Book. There's this idea that this is all new, and a lot of people who are religious are like, oh, you guys have just been complaining for a while. We've had this for 2,000 years. And it's like, actually, people have been complaining about this and revising it since the beginning of whatever Christianity was. So the idea that someone actually came to this kind of deep dive into what it actually is, like in the 19th century, I think Thomas Paine talks about the Bible in some of his writings. And
I think he's a pretty staunch atheist.
I think he might have been a deist.
I don't think he was. I think he
book with all of his readings. All I've gotten into is like common sense is all about the U.S. and getting free of England, basically.
I'm pretty sure he was an atheist, like full on.
We'll have to bring on Deb. She's definitely the expert on him. Well, actually, I already did. I have to do a follow-up. I just do follow-ups with people. Things do change, right?
No, everything stays the same. I mean, science is never wrong.
God never changes except...
Yeah, exactly.
In the New Testament, and then after that. So as someone who's semi-anonymous, since you do a podcast, do you feel like there's any kind of personal risk to doing a show?
Not to me. I mean, the only reason I'm anonymous is because of my wife. She's an elementary school teacher, and she's active in her church, and she's like, hey, could you just not use your real name? And if anyone, I mean, my voice isn't super distinctive, but I've given enough clues on this that people would know who I am. But, I mean, not really here, but not really for me. I own guns and I know how to fight, so that doesn't bother me any. But, like, for some people, yeah, I could totally see why people would be anonymous. I mean, especially if... I know we do tend... I've had a lot of my Christian friends bring this up. It's like we do tend to bag on Christianity a lot, but I've never really been worried about... hell, I've never really worried about talking shit about Muhammad either. But there's definitely a bigger risk talking about Muhammad. Like, Paul with Quranify Me. I mean, he's getting fucking death threats.
Yeah, when Paul was on the show, he did his whole, like, a bandana, and he wore, like, sunglasses and stuff. Although he did show pictures of himself, although it is under his second name.
Yeah.
I don't even know his... Like, that was the strange thing, is, like, going to Hugh's house and finding out his real name, but still wanting to call him Hugh because that's the name I knew him as.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every third person I meet, I'm actually not. That's not their real name.
And it kind of sucks because, I mean, it can affect your life. And it's ridiculous because, I mean, they know it at work. They know I'm an atheist. I've got my fucking atheist sticker on the wall. I listen to atheist podcasts all the time, and I make fun of stupid people that don't know their Bible. But still, like, if the president of our company, or at least the vice president of our operations, I mean, he's like a hardcore, I think, I don't know if he's a J-dub, but he's something like that. Like, dude, I could probably get fired for that. And this is Tennessee, man. It's right to work state, so I'm out.
Yeah, Georgia's is the same. They fire you. They don't have to give you a reason. It's pretty straightforward. So,
but I mean,
you wonder about that footprint.
It could impact you here big time.
How closely are people really going to look into? It could affect you. It probably doesn't. And I'm coming from a privileged place because, white male, we never get to talk about anything we feel. So there's kind of that. Well, I can talk, so why not? Because other people can't. And I think it was a Point of Inquiry podcast I was listening to earlier today with a blogger out of like Bangladesh where people were being killed for being atheist podcasters. So that's where there's actual risk. I think he actually was kicked out of his country because of his blog.
That's some seriously courageous shit right there.
He told a story about he actually got beat up for being a blogger, and he got put in jail cell like with the people who beat him up, and he actually talked to them and found out that they were just people who had been brainwashed from childhood to say he was bad, and he actually talked to them, and they were fine. They got along after that.
Well, once you put, that's what's real terrible about the internet. It's the anonymity, says the guy who's anonymous. But like, I don't say anything I wouldn't say to your face. Ergo, I'm not going to say, I hope you fucking die. I hope your kids fucking die because you don't believe in what I believe. And I mean, the vitriol you get from Christians sometimes over the internet is amazing. And I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking human being. I know you wouldn't say that to my face. And I'm not saying for like a negative.
Some would, but
some would, but that guy get his fucking nuts ripped off.
Well, you do have sharp claws.
I'm a sloth. But it would take me 45 minutes to go for the shot, so he'd have time to get away.
Yeah.
But not.
I think you know where I'm aiming.
Oh no. Sloths are so goddamn cute. I want one so bad. I think being anonymous sucks. I hate it. I mean, I can't stand it. But I'm glad I'm in a place where, even if I wasn't, I wouldn't get killed for it. But it's like the Rafe Badawi situation. Like, he didn't even talk out against Islam. I mean, he just said, hey, let's, not be super crazy religious in our government. And that guy's poor bastard. The balls on that dude are fucking, I don't know. I kind of feel like a punk ass little bitch for not, for being anonymous in a place where I don't know. It really irks me, and I really take issue with it. And the wife and I have had talks about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had similar ones. I mean, I basically have the one Facebook account, but I do have my page is a separate page, and I never link to it on my main page. But I have two separate Twitter accounts, but I think it'd be pretty easy to figure out, which one's which.
Well, I'm atheist as fuck on my Twitter. Well, hell, I don't.
And connect me to the two. But I don't post. I don't know. I feel like the people who post like the Bible verse of the day, and I always want to go, how come you never post like the ones about people being killed or Lot's daughters like having sex with him? You always post the yay happy verses. So I sometimes wonder about that. Every once in a while I do get into a chat with a religious person. We actually, if you can get past that initial step and actually just talk, like, well, how come, why you believe this, and you get something back, then that's useful. If someone, I mean, they even explain, I think I had to explain to someone a couple months ago, like, what an atheist was, like, I had no idea.
We just eat babies.
Legitimately, nobody, yeah. I mean, that's one thing about I think I made that joke about, it's not about the eating of the babies. It's that we argue about how you cook them. I really think, slow cooking is the best way.
Well, it makes the meat really just fall off the bone.
But the people who are, the fried, oh no, we're going to have to get into a war over it. It's like, not quite.
I think deep fried would be good. Hear all the juices.
You're in the South, right?
Yeah. I mean, deep fried turkeys are fucking juicy. I just figured deep fried baby would be amazing. And they don't have any hair, so that's fantastic. We should look into that.
That's fabulous. It's all about
I won't eat veal because it's a baby cow, but babies.
Baby.
Yeah. Game on.
Wrong in so many ways.
Yes, it is. That
So
sums up my life.
We're reaching the point of the show where we get toward the end here. So do you have a question for me?
Hey, that is the greatest hat I've ever seen. That's fan-fucking-tastic. And I'd say I want one, but I can't.
MailChimp wouldn't actually sponsor this show, but they are an email provider. It's local. And they have cute hats, so yes.
They do have cute hats. That's adorable. I'm trying to think. So, I mean, that ass, I really got to know. Just how many squats do you do?
Oh my
Seriously.
I mean,
seriously,
you
can put a fucking bottle of beer on that sumbitch.
I just, it's about natural talent, just have natural sitting talent. Must be all the sitting down on computers. I have no idea. And Chris, I will always hate you for taking that picture. But
no, but it's
the memory from ReasonCon. Oh.
It is. Your ass.
I wish everybody was so drunk they wouldn't remember stuff, but no.
No, I wasn't that drunk. Kind of wish I was drunk for some shit, but
yeah, it was an experience. I think it was the same for you, right? Wasn't this your first conference, ReasonCon?
Oh yeah, it's my first atheist anything, really. I mean, I didn't know that was the thing. I mean, I didn't realize, like, when I first got on Twitter, I got on Twitter like 4 years after everyone else did, and I didn't even want to be on it. My old roommate's like, here, he made me one, like, it made me a Twitter handle, and I got started on it. And then all of a sudden, I followed, I don't know who the hell I followed, but somehow I ended up finding Adam Reeks. I was like, I don't have any idea how the hell that happened. I think I just typed atheist into Twitter, and I got some people, so I started following them. And that's how I found Adam, and then I found the Imaginary Friend Show. Actually, I found the Imaginary Friend Show, and then I found Adam Reeks, and then I was like, started listening to podcasts. So Herd Mentality was my first, followed by Jake, and then I got to the American podcasts, Cogdis and Scathing Atheist, and I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. There's other people out there, so that's nice because you don't feel so fucking alone. Not that I ever felt really alone, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it's nice to have like-minded people around you, or at least a way to communicate with them. So the interwebs are awesome. Thanks, Al Gore.
Yeah, Paul sent me that Koranify Me shirt, and I put it on, and I was like, I would not wear this around where I live, but I still felt weird going downstairs in the lobby, because when I checked into the hotel, we were in Hickory, North Carolina. This older couple, I mean, older as in maybe a decade older than me, were checking out, and they had this giant illustrated study Bible, and I was like, oh man, you have no idea what's about to happen in this hotel.
The only thing that would have made that better, the only thing that would have made ReasonCon better is if like they booked like a fucking church trip there or something. That just would have been epic.
Well, I had the guy in the car with the Christian flag, and then the dude who was preaching, and then he said he just happened to be driving into town.
God wanted me to be here.
That's what we all do. Like when we're on a road trip to visit family, we just stop and pick at a church just because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the points. It's like, we don't come to your church on Sunday and like picket or protest you. We just go ahead, have fun with it. Just don't
I mean, it's kind of disrespectful and rude, but I would love to just walk into a church like 6-pack in hand, like the redneck style, like on the actual plastic ring. No, kind of like it's cold, but it's going to be sweating everywhere, and just sit in the back, pop beer, and just drink and like listen. That'd be disrespectful as shit, but it'd be funny as hell. That'd be super funny.
That's something for the show, right? Something to do in the future. Probably wouldn't.
My incarceration.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the point where you tell everybody, where do they find you online, and where do they find your show and all that good stuff.
Oh shit! All right. You can find me online.
Where's Chris?
Yeah. I'm Joe Kindic on Facebook. JoeKindick. It's a Joe Kindic kind of thing. I don't know. Shout out to Stacy Reupel for my name. I'm on Twitter at Joe Kindic, and I'm never hardly ever on there. I'm a slacker.
I've noticed that.
Sorry, dude.
Most people are like that. They're more Facebooky, and I don't know.
Well, I'd quit doing Facebook. Sorry, that's my wake up alarm. I got off Facebook for a long time. I was super twittery on my normal Twitter account, and then I got back to being Facebooky again, and then kind of lapsed on the Twitter because Twitter's an all day goddamn affair, man. I mean, it's constantly updating, and holy shit, if you're not on it constantly, you're gonna miss so much. And it takes a lot out. But at Joe Kindic on Twitter, I think it's Joe_Kindic, but it may not be. It may just be Joe Kindic. That's pretty sad. I don't even fucking know my own. That's amazing. Anyway, that tells you how much I'm on Twitter, but I'm more on Facebook. And our podcast is Unbuckling the Bible Belt. You can find it on Stitcher, iTunes, Spreaker, or you can go check out Chris's blog, unbucklingblog.wordpress.com, and you can also link to the podcast there.
So follow those guys. Follow them motherfuckers.
We're all right.
And Joe looks good in a kilt, too. So
damn Skippy. I'm a sexy fit man.
As for me, find the show on iTunes and other podcast catchers. Give the show a 5-star rating because you know you want to. Follow me on Twitter. You see that Zachrilege down there. That's how you spell it. Go to Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook. And you can also support the show on Patreon/Zachrilege. Double thanks to Bobby and Ashley, and of course you for continuing to Patreon edge me. So thanks again, Joe, for being on the show. And
thank you for having me. Thanks for having such an awesome show.
Everybody else, well, I'm glad you think so. And I think your show has been pretty awesome as well.
Oh, thanks.
And next time we're in Nashville.
Oh, it's brewery tour, dude. Brewery tour.
If it's not before football season, it might be football season, but we'll see.
Well, if it is, we'll do because Mizzou's coming to Vandy this year, so we'll get tickets to that. We'll pregame, and then we'll hook up with Tucker and Chris maybe, and then do the Atheist Brewery tour.
Actually, my parents told me that. So it's Missouri, Vandy on Saturday. It's also Penguins and Predators hockey on Saturday.
Wow.
And then on Sunday, it's the Falcons and the Titans.
Holy shit balls. We're not going to have time to drink. You got too much sports going on.
And you know it's also Sunday? My 13th wedding anniversary. So we'll see about that.
I thought you were going to say my 13th birthday. I was like, wait a minute, what?
We're in negotiations as we speak. So thank you all for listening to the show. And just wanted to say, stay skeptical.
Yeah.